Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Barreto. I am the Director of Client Services and Business Development here at CSI, a Moody's Analytics company. I am pleased to welcome you to this webinar, A Newcomer's Guide to Personal Finance and Getting Job Ready. We know that coming to a new country has a number of challenges, and we hope that this webinar and the advice from our panelists can help provide some thoughts and guidance as you settle in. Now, before we begin, some housekeeping requirements. Today's webinar is being recorded. The ratings, financial reporting analysis, projections, and other observations constituted part of this information contained herein are and must be construed solely as statements of opinion and not statements of fact or recommendations to purchase, sell, or hold any securities. We ask that no one record this webinar without Moody's explicit written permission. Lastly, no one has permission to quote any of the comments made or questions asked by the webinar audience. All members of the audience are currently on mute. If you have a question, please type it in the Q&A box. Access to the box is found at the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Next slide. I'd like to introduce our panel at this point. First, we have Tarun Dhingra. He is a manager of client advice at CIBC, and he is joined by Kwok Phon, a program manager with Access Canada. Tarun, I'm going to start the first question directed towards you. Tarun, newcomers to Canada face a lot of hurdles. The biggest one is becoming comfortable in their new home. What advice do you have for newcomers transitioning into life here in Canada?
Thanks, Roy. I think the next slide, I have few answers for your questions. Well, my name is Tarun. I am the manager client advice at CIBC Scarborough banking location. And I have been into the banking sector since 2011 with various retail positions. And I'll just introduce informally also in my spare time, I love to do food photography and I love to travel, which is my passion, and learn about different cultures. Uh, Personal about myself, I moved to Canada in 2017. I was graduated, I was doing a job back in India. And in 2017, when I got my permanent resident, I landed in the month of Jan, which was too cold. I will start with the immigrants to Canada. What are the facts and figures? I've just drawn a perfect graph wherein what we say is nearly 1 of 4 people in Canada are immigrants, the highest proportion of population in more than 150 years. Aim to continuing again welcoming immigrants about 1% of Canada's population per year. And if you see the projected value right now, next slide. If you see the projected value of 2021 and 2022, Canada is ready to welcome almost 431,000 immigrants compared to 2020 and 21, which is 226, 19 and 20, 284, and 18 and 19, 313. So if you see the trend and what I have read about immigrants right now, they have a target of 2025 by that at 2025, they might have more than 500,000 immigrants they are ready to welcome. Next slide. This is from my personal experience when I moved to Canada. What preparation I did so that I'm not left with anything at my home country, because it is very difficult when we land here, we forget some documents, we forget some processes which had to get done. So I have bifurcated with these 3 elements, which is before you move to Canada. I just arrived Canada, maybe in 0 to 6 months, and I'm now in a phase of settling it, which is 6 months. The number one advice I always say when we are moving to a new country, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to settle in. Whether you are single, with your family, with your kids, it is extremely one of the challenge you give it to yourself. Before you move to Canada, I always suggest you visit the official website of the new city, which is important, whether it is any province, city, wherever you plan to relocate, because that defines next few years where you want to settle in. Have your employment credential evaluated, which is WES, which I have personally gone through. There are many companies when you apply jobs, they ask for your employment credentials also. For example, government of Canada, they usually ask. Toronto police ask. So these are the employment credentials, which is very important that before you are landing, you get this evaluated, which takes 3 to 4 months. It is a very simplest process in WES. You can go there and you can evaluate your degrees also. You can evaluate your employment credentials. Collect official school documents. Lot many times when you land here, they usually ask for date of birth certificate, for example, which is one of the strongest document which you need to provide there when like if you're applying for something which is government approved. Estimate your monthly living expenses. When I came to Canada, I think lack of experience also, plus I didn't read a lot of blogs. But then now I know that I have bifurcated some housing expenses of travel expenses, plus your mobiles and your utilities. For example, I came with my partner, I came with my wife. Uh, if you look at 2022 versus 2017, I was living in one bedroom condo. I paid $1,200 versus which I see now, which is $1,800 to $2,000. You talk about utilities, $100 to $200. Groceries, which is important. Earlier time, I think I used to spend $300, and I always used to convert my exchange rate also. That okay, to buy a Tim Hortons coffee, it is costing me this much in Indian rupees, which I thought I am the odd one out. But then now when I see, it is natural. Groceries, $400. You talk about shopping for yourself. You come, you have winter jackets, because if somebody's landing in winters, you need winter jacket, winter shoes, lot many stuff which will cost you. So food expenses, you're going out to a restaurant, you're having a coffee chat, you're going to meet your friends, you're going to meet your buddy, because you need your spare time to relax also. So what I suggest will be 100 to 200 again. Travel. You're getting late for interview, it's winter time. I think Uber is a little expensive, but I always say that 100 to $200, you always keep it as a side expense for your Uber. Bus passes. Roughly have a figure which is I think 152 or $160, which you get a bus pass wherein you can have unlimited travel, depend on the city to city also. So this is what I am talking about. Toronto, this TTC has a monthly pass of 152 to 160. So I think that best practice is to buy that so that you can have unlimited travels also if you're going here and there. You plan to buy a car, again, you travel again, car, gas, and insurances roughly have an expense of 700 to 800. If you plan to buy a new car, that has a monthly expense of 400, gas 250, insurance above per month is roughly 300 to 400 for a new driver. This is approximately comes out to a package of $3,500 to $4,000, which I will always suggest that you have a buffer for at least 9 to 10 months. That this is might be an expense. This might go up, this might come down, but $3,000 to $4,000 for 10 months, you should have a buffer to survive without a job also. Arrange for a medical insurances. Based on my experiences, what I always suggest, carry 3 to 4 month medical insurance, because medical is little expensive here. Once you land in the country, you have to apply a health card, which takes almost 3 months time, because you need to have your address proof, you need to have your photo ID to get the health card. Then you are covered by OHIP. But if you don't have in first 3 months, and if you really want to go and visit the doctor, I will always suggest buy a medical insurance and take it for at least next 4 months to 5 months so that you are covered medically also. Create a list. What will you be bringing to Canada? There are lot many checklists. If you go on, I think Service Canada website also, they have provided extensive checklists once you're traveling to a new country, what exactly you need. You don't want to leave any documents behind, which is very important, because as soon as you come here, you start looking for a job, you'll be requiring your graduation documents, you'll be requiring your school documents, your degrees. So please make sure you carry the original ones, because there are certain times you will be needing it. I just arrived to Canada. Uh, this is 0 to 6 months experience. Again, I have to tell you, find a place to stay, but it should be flexible enough that you can move in next 6 months. You book something in East and you get your job on the west side and you have already signed a lease of 12 months, you're stuck. You're stuck in a situation because you cannot break the lease and your job is 100 kilometers away or 50 kilometers away. 0 to 6 months, I will always suggest that you have a flexibility in moving your baggage, moving your house one place to other. It will take time, it will be a struggle, but it is a definitely a sweet struggle. Let me remind, get your social insurance number at Service Canada. What I have seen new immigrants, those who are landing on the weekdays, there's certain times immigration officers only assign the social insurance number, but there's certain times you have to go to Service Canada. The very first thing I think I'll always suggest to go to Service Canada to take the social insurance number. This is a unique number. Please do not share this number to anybody. There are a lot many online frauds happening, a lot many phishing activities happening. You might get a call also that, hey, I'm calling from immigration. I just want to confirm your social insurance number or your passport number because of your address is this. Please do not provide. No government agency will ever call you to provide your unique numbers. Canadian phone number. Whenever you're coming with, there are a lot many offers which come in terms of back to school offer, the universities offers. There are a lot many offers which come. I will always suggest to have a data in place to access the internet, because once you come here, you're traveling, you're using Google Maps, you're using a lot many apps. The data goes within few days if you only have like 5 gigs or 6 gigs. So I will always suggest to have more data in initially because you'll be using it a lot. Presto service, which I've already identified in TTC, which is Toronto Transit. This is a unique card which is available at lot many retail store. This is basically one tap towards all the bus services. So once you come here, this is very important. Most important again is set up your finances. There are a lot many newcomer bundles which are coming. If you're a student, they have international student package. If you are on work permit, they have a work permit package. If you're new to Canada as a permanent resident, you have new to Canada permanent resident offers. All five banks, the major five banks, providing n number of services, n number of offers. X bank will provide you 400 cashback, the other will provide you with the iPad, the third bank will provide you with 3 years free services. But that doesn't mean you will open bank account everywhere. Please make sure you just have one visa or maximum of 2 credit cards, because anytime you apply a credit card, your credit bureau, which is our internal score as per social insurance, goes down. And this will be there in your credit history the entire 7 years or till the time you're here. So I will never suggest you to apply multiple visas. Have one bank account or two bank accounts. Segregate your finances, manage your expenses well, keep a savings account wherein this is my budget for next 10 months. Do not touch it. At least you have a sense of security also. Do not go to any stores. There are a lot many people who will say apply X visa or Y, you will get this offer. I will always suggest just to ignore that. Do not do it. Multiple visas you have, multiple credit card you have. At the end of the day, you'll be utilizing only one visa. So I will not suggest. Lending part, coming over to unsecured and secured lending. I'll get back to once you're settling in. Medical care, apply a health card on day one or maybe first month, because when you open a bank account and you have to apply the health card, always go for a physical statement on first month, because they need a physical bank statement when you're applying a health card with your address on it. When you go to the bank and you ask them that, okay, I need a bank statement, they don't have address in that. So please make sure once you're opening a bank account, tell the rep to send a bank statement physically to your address for a first month. Take that statement to Service Canada and apply Service Ontario Canada and apply your health card. Register your children for school. Again, if you're coming here 0 to 6 months, you have a flexibility. Make sure the school is nearby, because winters are there, summers are there. Canada has some temperature swings also. So you have to make sure for your children's, for your kids, you have a school nearby, so that during a time of emergency or anything else, you can also pick them up. Look for work. There are a lot many opportunities here. Lot many consultancy firms are here, wherein you can go and approach them. I think Mr. Fan will be going on Access Employment, also talking about some job opportunities. Uh, look for work, which is important. Do your homework. Be active on LinkedIn. Have a coffee chat. So once you land here, you're already prepared. Do not wait that once you land in the country and then you start approaching somebody for a coffee chats. I think coffee chats is the best. You go through a LinkedIn, and you get an opportunity in your field. I am from banking sector. I am very active on LinkedIn. So if somebody wants to do a coffee chat just to learn about the banking opportunities, I work in a retail branch. I have an experience of 10 to 15 years. I can tell you my experience. I can tell you what a retail bank branch do. I can help you through for sure. 6 months to 12 months or maybe going further, it's time to find a permanent home for you, whether in terms of renting purposes or a mortgage purposes. Right now, the interest rates have drastically gone up, but the house values are going down. So I think I will, as a banker, I will always suggest that if you're buying a permanent house, just buy it, because this is your dream. This is not your investment house. This is not your investment that, okay, you just going for. A lot of people come, they have their dreams and their passion attached to that particular house, and you're not selling that house for 3 to 5 years. Canada lives on real estate. Real estate goes down, but drastically come back again for next few years. Small things, buying find a permanent house or house for a rent. Your grocery stores, your bus stops, your TTC, your subway, your medical centers have to make priorities at what you need. Finding a new house for yourself, get a driving license. uh, Nowadays I've learned, because of COVID also, they are delaying the test, but then they're backing up and they're clearing the backlogs. I think this is number one thing. If you know how to drive, just apply a driving license, which is important. I'll tell you two benefits. Number one, Ontario, you need a photo ID. That becomes your photo ID. Driving license is the photo ID. So you don't need to apply the Ontario PIN card, because ultimately it will be replaced with a driving license. So you have one physical card with you to show to any bank, show to anywhere, because you, at the end of the day, you should not be carrying your passport everywhere, because it's risk involved. Improve your language, get to know your community. Once you're coming here, please talk talk to your community, get involved in activities, get involved in extracurricular activities. There are a lot many things which you can do in your community. I think that's the best I can say, to have your interpersonal skills, have your language, and everything imbibed in it. Next slide. Do's and don'ts. I have already told, set up finances, open up open a bank account. Do not go for multiple banking approach that n number of and this X bank is providing this offer or Y bank is providing offers, keeps on going on. And I think what my experience says, in 5 years, these offers, earlier it used to be $100 cash back. Today it is $400 cash back. Do not go on cashback offers that this bank is providing this. Manage your finances well. At the end, what you see is one bank which is treating you nice, one bank where your finances are safe, and some have a rep, have a rep for yourself to have a financial health check that, okay, this is my life right now. I've come to this country. I have X amount of money for next 1 year, and this is my timelines. They might have a saving opportunity for you. They might suggest you something which you are not even aware of. Build a credit score. Once you apply the social insurance number, it is important to have your credit score on positive trend. Please do not miss a payment, which is important. Apply max of one or two credit cards, because anytime you apply a lending product with any bank, your score goes down for 10 to 15 points. So please make sure that you have one or two lending products. That's it, because this is the one which you can get utilized for. A lot of banks for newcomers to Canada providing $3,000, $2,000 credit limit, which is good. I mean, I will not suggest it is less. Earlier, it used to be $1,000. They've increased it to $3,000 or $2,000 bank to bank. make sure you just utilize max of 40 to 50% of your credit limit. If you have a visa of $3,000, utilize 1,200 to 1,500, because anytime bank sees that you're applying, you're using utilization more than 50%, your score goes down again. So be very careful with that. Start saving. Emergency fund. A kid needs 9 months to have a birth. When you move to a new country, you need 9 to 12 months to get settled down. Have your kids settle down, because most important, if you're coming with a family, kids should be settling down well. So you need at least 12 months to 24 months buffer, that if you don't get a job, if your spouse doesn't get a job, at least you have something. And be positive. The country is not against you only. There are certain negative thoughts which comes into your mind, that this country is against me, I just want to run away. And I think a lot of people here also are new immigrants, and everybody has faced this situation no matter what. I have personally faced it, wherein I wanted to just quit and just go back and enjoy my life back in my domicile country. But then things changes, and you don't know when, but things will change. Don'ts again. Or do not open multiple bank account. Do not apply for multiple credit card. Spend more what you can afford, which is important. When you come to the country, when you visit a country, lot of time I have seen as a trend that people start spending on shopping. People start going out on restaurants, because in restaurants also, because we have so much of cultures involved, there are so many small businesses, you tend to keen and you tend to divert that. Do not share banking information with others, specifically a social insurance number, uh, fake job alerts. You will be getting an emails, lot many emails, and they will be sending you a check, which is, hey, I my I am in US. I cannot physically send you a check, but I will email you the check. Just go online or from your mobile app, deposit the check, and that goes you. Oh, we sorry, we gave you extra amount. Can you return this back? Please do not fall for these scams. They are a lot. Uh, SMS messages scam, that Tarun has sent you money. Please deposit that into your bank account. Please do not entertain. You might get a message from any telecom company that this is a refund to your bank account. Click here to accept the refund to your bank account. Please do not click this. Just avoid online frauds. They are a lot, specifically with the fake jobs. People might be asking you money also, that okay, these are my charges, this is the offer letter, you can join this institution. Make sure you Google it out, make sure you talk to your peer group, make sure you talk to your mentors, that this is what I'm getting and this is the offer I'm getting. Is it legit or not? Please make sure this, I think this last advice is first, and the last advice will be just avoid the scams. I think, Rohit, that's about from my side as a new immigrant chapter. Over to you.
Tarun, thank you. Wow. I mean, that was a lot of information and a lot of detail, and I guess it's a lot of things that people have to do when they get into Canada and kind of try settling. And the one thing I did take away from all of your points, and I think the one that kind of really resonated with me was the importance of getting involved in the community, speaking to people, getting out and meeting other professionals and talking to them about, what are your jobs like. That really resonated with me. And thank you for sharing all of that, and especially for sharing your experience of coming to Canada and the do's and don'ts of things that folks can leverage in their transition. Um, Kwok, um, this question is for you. You spend a great deal of time with newcomers. You help them prepare to start a new career or jump back into a similar one. What resources and programs are available to newcomers to help them overcome hurdles and begin their careers in Canada?
Thank you, Rui, and welcome everybody. My name, like Rui mentioned, is Kwok. My name is Kwok Fan. I am the program manager of the Financial Service and Leadership Connections program here at Access. And I've been working with internationally trained professionals and help them find employment for the last 16 years. So hopefully some of these tips today will kind of help you go over some of the hurdles and how to kind of really start to begin your career of the services that are available here in Canada. Next slide, please. So what are some of the common hurdles? So you may have heard from people about this idea of no Canadian experience. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And it's something that we shouldn't really have to worry about, to be honest with you, especially if we are prepared and ready. And that's kind of the tip that I'm providing you today is really 3 things on how do we prepare ourselves when it comes to talking to employers so that the message of no Canadian experience will come up. Because to be honest with you, usually here no Canadian experience is due to an employer maybe mentioning that during an interview conversation. But the thing is, they contacted you already without having Canadian experience on your resume. So what is this no Canadian experience excuse? Let's talk about it. So the number 1 tip that I want to kind of provide today is going to be know the Canadian vocabulary and terminology for your field and your industry. See what is similar to the experience that you've had back in your home country. And now looking at what are those terminology that are similar used here. And I think that's really important because it helps you know the market. Another thing about Canadian vocabulary is also understanding about the way Canadians speak and communicate. It is kind of vital to help you understand a little bit about the kind of the soft skills. And I think you may hear that from a lot of other people trying to help you integrate into the Canadian market here and live here in Canada. So it is really about understanding those soft skills and kind of the process, right? What are small talk conversations? And we'll talk a little bit later about how do we get to know a little bit more of that. But I think that's really important to kind of show that you kind of fit in by understanding the Canadian vocabulary and terminology. The second tip I want to provide here is understand the role and the market for your job here in Canada. What are the regulations? What are the laws? What are some of the trends that are happening? What are some of the business culture like? What are some of the software that's used that you may be required to use here? Having that understanding, start studying about that and communicating that during the interview is going to help you come across that you know that you have a lot of experience in your home country. Here are things that are very similar. Here are things that you understand, and here's the things that you understand for this role and how you can go about and proceed to be successful in the opportunity. Lastly, here is know the knowledge of the credentials required for your field and industry. I think this is so important to see what's required. Now, we may not necessarily have those credentials right now as we maybe just landed, maybe we just learned about it, but I think it is important to communicate to the employer that we have that knowledge that yes, for example, the Canadian Securities course may be required for those that are looking for work in the banking and financial services field, but you don't have that. So what you can communicate is that you are in process of obtaining. And to me, when I say talk about being in process, it means that we're thinking, we're researching it, maybe we have started the application to get that certification, but it communicates to employer, I know that it's required, I am working towards it. So I think, again, these 3 things really help the employer understand that I'm not new. I've done my research. I know what's required of me. I have the skills and experience and ready to work. Thank you. Next slide. So what are some things that we can talk about to help newcomers land their first job? So one of the first things is get to an employment service agency like Access, where we support you in helping you find employment. So helping you kind of prepare, kind of the preparation, not just the job agency where they have positions that they can refer you to, but it's mostly about the preparation on how to be successful and get feedback. One of the things that we really want to look into is get resume assistance right away. So helping you with not just the formatting and the structure, but really help guide you on how do you go about tailoring and targeting your resume so it matches the job position and your application to the employer. One of the things I always say about the resume to my clients is the idea that think like an employer, right? What are they looking for? The job posting really communicates a lot. And I think it's important to utilize that job posting and reflect it back to the employer not a copy paste, but reflect back of what are some of the key messages and themes that you see on the job posting, and how can you mention that you have that experience, that you have supported and done similar tasks and responsibilities in your previous roles. So I think that's very important, and getting to an employment service agency to provide you that feedback and support and guide you along that process. Second, it's the interview practice and getting feedback. This is something that's so important, that now that we have a strong resume, we're going out there and we're applying for positions. Employers are now calling us. And I think it's important to be prepared, not just to be prepared to take the phone call, but be prepared and practice ahead of time. And I think that's the key message here, is prepare ahead of time. What are some of the potential questions that employers are going to ask? And how can I strategize on communicating the key skills, the themes of my personality, of my skill sets, of my experience, so that it can communicate to the employer, I'm ready to work in that role and opportunity, and here's how I can help the organization be successful. So working with a employment service agency to provide you feedback is so important, just to make sure that we're going on the right track, right? We don't want to practice with the employer. I hear that a lot from job seekers who say, well, I go to a lot of interviews, I'm getting a lot of practice. And I go, that's great that you're getting those interviews. It's great that you're getting that practice, but practice with an employment coach that can help you prepare so that when you get that interview, you get that job. Because again, employers are contacting you for an interview is because they want to hire you. So we want to be ready to make sure that we take advantage of that opportunity. And the third thing here is working with employment service agencies to kind of not only help you build connections through events that they have with employers and job opportunities, but the art of making connections, I think, is really important as well. So kind of really dive into, where to go get to network. So what are some of the networking opportunities, whether it's about the financial sector, banks, firms, get to know some employers and their hiring practices. I think those are really important, and events that we can definitely go to. But I think it's also important to make direct contact and reach out to people in the industry, people that you could be your colleagues in the future, and really kind of have a coffee chat. And no, we don't have to drink coffee, but it is just a term called coffee chat, in which we sit down and prepare a list of questions and ask the potential employer a few questions to get to know more about the industry, talk about it just like you're an industry expert, just like how you have talked to your colleagues and other people in the industry back in your home country. So that's kind of really how we build that. So learning the art of networking, how to set up those meetings, how to ask certain questions, how to phrase it, how to follow up. I think those are things that the employment service agency coach would be able to help you as you go through and build those connections. I think that's important. I think a lot of people make a lot of great connections and they don't really know what to do, right? They think the work is done already, but it's a lot more work. And getting connected to your employment coach to kind of help guide you through that process is going to be definitely very helpful. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about networking as well that the coach can provide you with is feedback on your LinkedIn, right? Feedback on how to strategize using social media like LinkedIn to boost your visibility in the LinkedIn platform, how to go about connecting people to articles, viewing your thoughts, answering questions that are out there, connecting to LinkedIn groups, I think is very helpful as well. So connect with an employment coach and get help with resume, interview, and networking. Thank you. Next slide. So here are just some typical services that you may find at employment agencies. These are the ones that are offered here at Access Employment. So we have a couple different areas, and I kind of go quickly about that. So our main one here is starting your job search. So this is kind of the Employment Ontario program where we provide one-on-one job search support. We provide workshops. We do have job placements and job fairs. that we can help you, connect you with resources like settlement services, housing. Those are some things that we can do. And then we have some other programs such as Second Career for those that have been in Canada for a little bit longer and looking to transition to another area. Below that I have here is the mentoring support. So we have lots of mentoring programs that we can connect you to. One of our main ones that Access is really known for is the Speed mentoring program, where you will be invited to events where you will meet with potential employers from your industry and have about a 10-minute coffee chat with them before you move on to the next person. So think of it like speed dating, if some of you know that term, and you're just meeting with different mentors around the room for about an hour. And the goal of that is to build a quick relationship and be able to connect with them outside that event and get to know more a little bit about the industry and their background. So we have several ways that we partner there. We also have one for those that are looking to start a business. I think that's important as well. So those entrepreneurs, we have a program to kind of help you know the rules and business plan, how to get funding and support you there. We do have programs for women. So we have the START program. We have the Empowering Women program that's sponsored by TD, as well as the Women in Technology, and then career pathways for newcomer women. We also have language programs as well here at Access to kind of help build upon your confidence when you go out there and speak to potential employers. And then if you have any youth or children that you would like to help connect to, we do have some youth programs as well to kind of help them get started here in Canada. For those that are about to arrive or know people who are about to arrive to Canada, we also do have pre-arrival services that we can help clients be ready before they immigrate here to Canada. So a lot of that knowledge is already there. And then once you're arrived, connect you to an employment consultant and get you started. Thank you. Next slide, please. So Access is really known for our sector-specific programs, and here you can see all the different sector-specific programs. Hopefully you see one of the programs that your industry is in. Generally speaking, these programs last anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks that are full-time to kind of help you to find employment or kind of strategize on how to go about finding employment in those areas. I'm going to be talking about the two programs here today called the Financial Service and Leadership Connections Program. So I'll tell you a little bit about what those components. Next slide, please. So the Financial Service Connections Program is a program to help internationally trained professionals focus on finding employment in the financial services area. It is a 6-week program and it's Monday to Friday, and it is completely virtual. We partnered with the Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly known as Ryerson University, to kind of help you with the business communication and culture to help you understand about the Canadian workplace environment. We also have some components on understanding the Canadian economy, critical thinking and problem solving, which I think is really important on how we transition the workplace moving forward, that those are critical skills that employers are looking for. We do have the employer connections, so you can see some of the different events that you see there, guest speakers. We have our alumni that come in and talk about how they've gone through the program and where they're at today, a pitch panel with employers, and then of course, invitations to our speed mentoring events, the mentoring partnership program, job fairs, and recruitment events. So those are some of the things there. The main component, as you can see, will be with the job search. So helping you again with your resume, interview skills, interview preparation. We also prepare you with Spark Hire, which is a video platform. I think that's something now that's more common since most of the interviews are done virtually. So how do we really prepare for that, whether it's recorded or seeing someone live? Helping you with your LinkedIn, networking, and understanding your culture. This program does have a fee. The fee for this program is $500 plus HST, but this program is fully reimbursed through the Ontario Bridging Participant Assistance Program. And then throughout the program, we do provide pre, and post-hire support, which means that once you have found employment, Access is still able to continue to support you in terms of answering your questions, connect you to a business coach to kind of help you go through that challenging aspect of landing that job. Thank you. Next slide, please. And this is another program called the Leadership Connections Program. It's very similar to the program earlier, but some of the different components is this one is focused on internationally trained professionals, focused on the financial and IT sector, as well as this consulting sector. We're looking for senior manager experience or higher. And we partner with Humber College, which then provides the leadership training. So critical aspects of leading and managing in a Canadian context in a digital talent. But everything else is very similar to what I mentioned earlier. And again, this program fee is $500 plus HST, and it's fully reimbursed through the Ontario Bridging Participant Assistance Program. Thank you. Next slide, please. So I talked a little bit about some of the services, and I'll talk a little bit now about Access and our vision and our mission. So as you can see here, Access vision is a fully inclusive labor force that reflects the diversity, skills, and experience of the Canadian population. You heard Taran mentioned earlier about how we're going to have 500,000 newcomers come to Canada in the foreseeable each year. So we are going to see a wealth of diversity here, and we want to kind of look at connecting that to employers. So that's our mission, right? We assist job seekers from diverse backgrounds who are facing barriers to employment to integrate into the Canadian job market. We achieve this by providing employment services, linking employers to skilled people, and building strong network and collaboration with our community partners. So that's really what our focus is. It's not just provide the job search support, but we go out there in the community and build those connections so that we can collaborate with them through different events and connect you to future positions and openings. Thank you. Next slide, please. And here are our locations in the various areas of the GTA. So hopefully we have a location near you, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, Rui.
Kwok, thank you. It's funny because the one thing I also took away was very similar to what I took away with Tarun's conversation, is the importance of networking, connecting with people, reaching out and having those important conversations with employers and other professionals in the industry, and taking the time to kind of understand through a simple conversation exactly what kind of help they need, what support's available. It's definitely something that's resonated throughout this presentation. If I can get the next slide. CSI, as you know, is the Canadian Securities Institute. We're part of a Moody's Analytics company. We are the leading training provider in the marketplace for anything that touches on the financial services industry. So if you're thinking of enrolling in a profession that is focused on retail banking or in the wealth management side of the bank, CSI is the leading training provider. In some instances, depending on the business line, we are the only provider of the licensing courses required for the industry. We have two courses. One is the Canadian Securities course, which is also known as the CSC in the marketplace. And we also have the Investment Funds in Canada, which is known as the IFC by its acronym. These two courses are relatively the minimum requirement if you are thinking of getting into a job in the bank. The first course that I'm going to focus on is the Canadian Securities course. The Canadian Securities course is a much more broader course. It covers the topics of mutual funds as well as securities and investments. Completing this course will allow you to kind of broaden your job search. You can actually look for roles both within the banking world as well as in the wealth management space. It gives you a lot of the context of what is required for investments, what are the rules and regulations, what are the ethical requirements when you are working with another individual's investments and retirement funds. The second course, the Investment Funds in Canada, is more focused on mutual funds and is pointed towards the retail banking area. So if you're thinking that you want to become part of a retail banking role, I would recommend that you complete the bottom course, the Investment Funds in Canada. But if you are thinking that you're not quite sure where you want to kind of apply for a job, the Canadian Securities course does broaden that ability for you to kind of reach out to multiple areas of the bank. These are the minimum requirements. And the reason why I want to highlight that word minimum, if you think about the number of people that apply for jobs every single day, especially when you think about the big banks or the investment firms, the one thing that they want to look for when they think about resumes is they want to look at things that make their hiring capabilities a little bit easier. So having one of these two courses on your resume does help elevate your resume, and it does bring your resume up to the top of the list. So for more details, and I apologize, we are running low on time, but for more details, please do visit us at csi.ca or reach out to us through our social media platforms on LinkedIn. And do ask us the questions, and we'd be more than happy to kind of dive into a little bit more detail on each of those courses. If I can get the next slide. And I think the one thing that we've kind of talked about is coming to Canada is not easy. It's a bit of a stressful experience. There's a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of things that you have to put in place. For those folks that are thinking again of looking for a role within the financial services industry, a lot of times we think about retail banking or we think about an investment broker. But in truth, there are quite a number of jobs that kind of fit within the financial services industry. CSI has actually built what we call a career map, where we dive into those different roles, where you start, where you go, and how you can kind of grow your career. And what we do with this career map is you can actually click on a role that creates or might be of interest. You can actually learn about the role, the expectations of the role, and what courses CSI provide that actually tie specifically to the role. And if you're thinking about creating that resume, there's nothing more important than having some of that skill set in the resume that helps resonate to the hiring manager on the other side. And with that, we've got approximately 9 minutes. If I can go to the next slide. And here I'm going to ask and welcome everyone to, if there is a question or something that you'd like to get some more information, that you send us a message, and then we can present it to our panelists. So we've got a question. Do you, Tarun or Kwok, have any tips, strategies for those who are new to Canada and are looking to switch their career path? Are there any specific steps they can take to make the transition easier? Tarun, I'll start with you and then turn it over to Kwok.
I think Canada is full of surprises. I've seen a lot of my personal experience again. A lot of my friends and family, they're from the hotel management background, but they're into banking. It's when you come to this country, you really have to define what's your 3 to 5 year goal, which is very, very important. What's your industry line? Do you have a passion? A person can be a salesperson in banking, but what an advisor's core competence is how they advise, how they have a relationship planning, how can they acquire the whole family. So it is all depends on your passion. It is all depends on what you need in 3 to 5 years. And I have seen a lot of people coming over to this country, changing their industry, changing their positions, changing their profile altogether also. And I will always suggest wherever there's your passion for next few years, just go with it.
Kwok, same question.
Yeah, so I'll reiterate that there's definitely a land of opportunities here. I think the key thing that you want to really consider is what are those transferable skills, right? What do you really want, and then go after it. Obviously, if there's some certification or education that's required to help you get there, I think that's something to look into. But I think it's really looking at your transferable skills and networking. We already talked, Drew mentioned networking is really key, and you're building those connections. And I'll share a quick story of a client that I worked with in the past who was a math teacher. She was a high school math teacher, and here in Canada, she decided that she wanted to kind of change careers, utilize her mathematical and statistics skills. So she decided to transition into being an actuary analyst. And through kind of taking one of the 3 courses for her license, as well as learning how to network effectively, she was able to make that transition to work as an actuary analyst. So that to me is such a big difference, right? From teaching high school math to working in the corporate world doing actuary analyst. So there is definitely room to be able to transition. Just look and do that research, right? Figure out what do you need, what are your skills, and how to get there. Thank you.
Kwok, one more question. I'm going to direct this one back to you. What are the soft skills required to get into the Canadian market, or I guess into the Canadian employment market, applicable to any industry?
Yeah, I think the term kind of soft skills out there is like, what are soft skills? We all have soft skills, right? We have soft skills today, whether we have them in the past. Soft skills are just literally about skills of how we communicate with each other and those interpersonal skills. So we all have those skills. I think the thing to recognize is, what does the cultural aspect of the communication here in Canada and how does that play? Canadians, we like choices. So it's never just we'll do one thing. It's here are a couple of options and have the other individual pick one. That could be right for them. We provide things that are not as direct. So we wouldn't necessarily go do this. It would be more of, these are, again, some options, some thoughts. What do you think? And bringing it back. So I think that is the key message here is we have those skills, but it's really about how do we communicate that with the people that we meet and being a little bit more, I'd say, sometimes indirect to what we're looking for as opposed to something that's direct.
And I completely agree. I think sometimes the fear of reaching out and the fear of having these conversations is really what kind of hinders people from kind of really discovering and learning firsthand from the folks that could assist them in a lot of situations. So to your point, I think, the soft skills, we all have it. It's just a matter of flexing our strength and reaching out to those individuals that could support us. The next question, I guess I will kind of handle. We had a question about our CSI courses and specifically the Canadian Securities course. All of our courses are online. You do not have to be in Canada to enroll in it, nor do you have to be in Canada to do the exam. We've recently partnered with a industry exam leader, Prometrics, that allows for you to be able to complete the exam anywhere in the world, as long as you can book a seat, you can write the exam. Again, if you are thinking of transitioning to Canada and you've already got a map and you've already thought about all of those things that Tarun had mentioned, planning out where you're going to live, thinking about where you want to work. If that's already been done and the financial services industry is where you're either coming with the background or thinking of entering the role, a great way to kind of get started is to enroll in the course. And as you're kind of transitioning into Canada, start the course, start working through it. Even if you don't complete it, having it on your resume that you've started it or you're in the process of completing it adds value to your resume, especially when you're applying for jobs. Another question is, and Tarun, I'll turn this to you. I would like to be a portfolio manager. However, I don't have work experience in the investment field. What are my next steps after the CSC? Oh, actually, why didn't I take that back? So, I mean, where you start and where you kind of go in the world of investments or in the world of wealth management. I think the first step is completing the CSC. I probably wouldn't rush to complete a second and a third course because there are quite a few courses when you think about licensing, especially in the wealth management space. Completing the initial licensing course, the Canadian Securities course, once you're in the bank, they will actually indicate to you what your next course is. And I think, I don't know, Tarun, do you want to talk about what that kind of looks like? So you're applying for a job at CIBC. What happens once I get that phone call and I've been hired for a job?
Correct. Uh, the number one suggestion, which Rui already mentioned, that complete your IFIC or your CSC course, which is important if you want to be a portfolio manager without a experience. That's okay. Product knowledge can come once you join a bank also. It's all about your attitude, how you present yourself to a hiring manager, which is very, very important. Number two, I'll specifically talk about a banking point of view, which is a retail. Our positions start from financial it's basically a teller role number one, which they don't require any licensing. I always suggest to be going on a customer service website to know about banking, know about their products and knowledge, know about the processes, know about your risk and appetite also. Then you move over to financial service rep, which require licensing, which Rui was talking about. Please do not apply any jobs if you don't have these licenses, because the HR management is such that if you are not certified and if these certifications are not there in your resume, you tend to have a rejection right away. So a lot of time we think about, I don't know why all the companies are against me, that as soon as I apply, I get a rejection mail in 5 days. The reason is the HR scrutiny system, which they have a software in the resume. If your certifications are not there, the chances of getting through is minimum. Once you become a financial service rep, then the next step is a financial advisor, which they basically take care of 200 families or 300 families, and they tend to grow, which is deepen the relationship and acquire the new relationship. Which I think once you do the certification, once you land into a banking center, once you learn about how do you talk to the client, what are the products involved, how do you manage, how is your engagement towards your acquiring and deepening of relationship, then your manager, whoever is there, your leader, talks about your 3 to 5 years. What do you want to do? What exactly there? It's just the entry point, which matters a lot. And if you really want to be a portfolio manager, get these two certifications to enter, and things can follow in place. Things will fall in place.
Well, thank you. So this concludes our event. Thank you to Tarun and Kwok, our panel members, for providing insight into preparing for life in Canada. If you have any additional questions, please email them to designations@csi.ca. We encourage you to enroll in the CSC or the IFC by visiting csi.ca/PSI period. A replay of this event will be available in the coming days. Thank you for attending. Have a great day and good luck on the path to a career in the financial services.